campaigning for the drug that could save thousands of lives. Good evening and welcome to Spotlight. More on the news that could bring hope to cystic fibrosis sufferers in just...
A group of mothers from the southwest is calling for an expensive new drug to be made available now to patients with cystic fibrosis. The drug, called Kalydeco, has been backed by experts in the United States, Europe and here in the UK.
But there's a delay over its release here because of its cost implications to the NHS. We'll talk to the Chief Executive of the Cystic Fibrosis Trust in a moment. First, this report from Spotlight's Chris Liddon.
Ellie is just 15 months old and has a rare form of cystic fibrosis called G551D mutation. It affects around 400 children in this country. Her tiny body produces mucus that clogs her lungs. She can't lead a normal life and may one day need a lung transplant.
We have a crippling regime of medication that we go through from the moment she wakes up to the moment she goes to sleep. Ellie already does have lung damage at a very, very young age. If we wait until she's 6, it can only go, to a greater extent, and we just don't want that to happen.
Denise Murphy has a teenage daughter, Katie, with the same condition. Together with mums like Jess, she's put together a document of personal testimonies. Their hope to get Kalydeco for all children with G551D and eventually for all children with cystic fibrosis. This is Katie. She's so ill at the moment that she's in hospital being treated for her condition. These are just some of the drugs she has to take every day. And this is Kalydeco, the closest thing to a cure. Without it, Katie too will end up on the transplant list.
This drug's been available now in America for the last year. It's now available in Germany and in Italy, and we're still waiting. I think it's a travesty that this country is behind all these other nations when we should be having it for people in this country too.
The European Medicines Agency approved Kalydeco in July for use across member states. The NHS gave it their backing here last month. But health service commissioners still haven't agreed a price for the drug with the drugs company Vertex. The list price is £182,000 per patient per year. The Department of Health said tonight that it recognised the benefits of Kalydeco, but discussions were still ongoing, and it would eventually be up to local NHS trusts to decide whether the drug should be made available. Chris Liddon, BBC Spotlight, Dawlish.
Well, Ed Owen is the Chief Executive of the Cystic Fibrosis Trust. I asked him what sort of difference this drug could make to the lives of people with the disease.
It received approval from the regulators in America early this year and in Europe in July. And most recently, in the last week or two, we've had the NHS own advisors recognise this as a unique, transformational treatment with quite significant clinical benefits.
We are talking about a huge cost, though, with a list price at the moment of £182,000 per patient per year. What progress is being made to bring that price down to a level which is affordable for the NHS?
Well, what we say as the Cystic Fibrosis Trust is that we're calling on both the NHS and the manufacturers of this drug, Vertex, to sit down and negotiate a price which is affordable. That is the overwhelming responsibility on both sides. And I'm very, very pleased to say that the announcement of the NHS advisors, what's called the Clinical Priorities Advisory Group, they will be meeting Vertex in the next few weeks, and I hope that negotiation can begin.
Briefly, the cost is one thing, but of course the NHS is going through huge reforms and upheaval at the moment. What effect could that have on the introduction of this drug?
Well, we are moving. We are going through the big reform of the NHS, and one of the problems is that the new arrangements for what's called the reimbursement, the funding of drugs like Kalydeco, doesn't come into place until April next year. So we are in a strange interim period as the old system, if you like, falls or disintegrates, and the new system is created in April. That is one of the problems as to why there is a frustration, which we feel as the Cystic Fibrosis Trust, representing all families that are affected by CF, but particularly the families that